So here in, well, I'll just start with our community. We have two, if you live here in Clemson or around Clemson, there's basically three law enforcement agencies, maybe, well, probably four, that you see and may interact with, okay? You have Clemson University Police Department. Their responsibility is just the university property. That's where their jurisdiction is. You have the Clemson City Police Department, which I'm the chief of, and we patrol and are responsible for the city of Clemson, okay? And then the city of Clemson resides in Pickens County. In Pickens County, we have an elected sheriff who is a law enforcement officer, and his deputies' responsibility is the whole county of Pickens. So it goes from Clemson all the way over to Easley, all the way up to the mountains. It's a very large area for them to cover, okay? And they have jurisdiction inside of the city as well because it's encompassed in the county. And then you have, as you travel through the county, there are a couple other agencies. Easley has its own police department, city of Pickens, the city of Liberty. So when you encounter these law enforcement officers in these other areas, that's why they look a little bit different. Their cars are a little bit different because their jurisdictions are a little different. So we primarily stay within the city. We don't go outside of the city. On occasion, we'll go outside the city if it's something that we're investigating that happened in the city, but we have to go outside to learn more about the incident. And then we have the state agencies. So you have the South Carolina Highway Patrol or Department of Natural Resources. You may hear SLED, the State Law Enforcement Division. Those are all state agencies. They have jurisdiction throughout the whole state. And they pretty much, they'll come in and start investigating things that have more like a statewide impact. So if we have criminals that are committing crimes in multiple areas throughout the state, they'll assist with that investigation because they have the jurisdiction to go in those other areas. They also have a lot of resources that our smaller agencies don't have, and they'll come in and assist us for stuff like that. The Highway Patrol is specifically for traffic highway, so they primarily are enforcing traffic laws. They're investigating traffic crashes, those types of things. And those are the ones that wear the gray uniforms, and they kind of look a little militaristic. They look like little soldiers going around. They're a little more intense than some, but they're very approachable too. So, but that's just the outward look that they give. Okay. And so that's the state, local, county type of agencies that we have. And then of course we have our federal agencies that we work with that have jurisdiction throughout the country. And we affectionately call them three-letter agencies because most of them go by three letters. So you have the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms. They're all three letters, so three-letter agencies. INS, all of that. So, all right. So that kind of explains not only their jurisdictions, but it also kind of explains how they're funded. Their funding comes from, like our funding comes from local city taxes. The state agencies get it from state taxes, those kind of things. So they all kind of falls in line. So here in Clemson, the city of Clemson, can anybody give me a guess? How many police officers do you think the city of Clemson has? Say again? So just officers that say patrol the streets that you would see in uniform. Okay. So a variety of numbers. So we are budgeted for 43 officers, and I had to think because we just had a budget cycle, and I think we're going to go. I think we're going to go to 44 next year. So I have 44 officers that work for me. And then when you break that down, so that counts me all the way down. So I have supervisors that are in between me and the officer you see on the street that's driving around in a patrol car. So when you take me, my two captains, my 3 lieutenants, and I think I have 7 sergeants out of the picture. So 7 from 43, numbers are getting smaller, right? I have 4 detectives. So the detectives usually they follow up on investigations that the original officers take. So they're kind of out of the mix. So on average, what do you think at any given time, a 24-hour period, how many officers do you think are working on the street? 20? You're getting close. If you count the supervisor, 5. So I have 5 officers. If they're all here, so if they're not on vacation, they're not in training, they're not sick, they didn't take a day off. If they're all here, 5 working a shift. Okay. And a lot of times because of all the other things, there's usually maybe 4 working the road, sometimes less than that. So when we have large events like we had last night, I have to pull all the other officers that work for the department that are normally off in to work the event. And I still have to have staff that will be able to take the next shift, so I'm not going to pull the night shift people in on day shift because they got to work at night, those kind of things. So we're not as big as a lot of people think, okay? So we have some challenges when it comes to that. And because of that, we rely a lot of times on our neighboring agencies. So the university police department, if we have a large incident, we'll reach out to them to ask officers to come help us. So we have agreements in place where those agencies will come in and help us. The concert they had last night, the university reaches out and gets officers from all over to come help with the stuff on campus. But the stuff that's going on in the city, we don't have anybody that helps us. So most of my people are working. So I had people that started working that event yesterday at noon and didn't get off till 3 in the morning. So unfortunately, we had a tragic incident that happened last night, so some of us didn't get out of here till much later. So anyway, I just point that out to show that we're not as big as people think. We have limitations on our resources, and sometimes we can't do some of the things people expect us to do because we don't have that many. But I would add, if we went over to Greenville, which they have, I think they're pushing close to 200 police officers over in Greenville for the city. Even with that, if you look at the size of their community and all of the things that are going on over there, that ain't a lot either. Because then you think about, okay, you have to have 24-hour shifts. So you have to have some people working in the day, some people working in the night, some people who are detectives, et cetera, et cetera. And they start getting spread real thin. So, and they are a larger community, so they have a larger area to cover, more people to deal with. So, that sometimes feeds into sometimes how we react to things and what we consider as being very important, and some things that are maybe not as important because of all those things that we're doing. So I talked about those are the officers on the road. How many people in here realize that the city of Clemson has a jail? Didn't know that, huh? So we are unique in the state. There's only a handful of police departments in the state that have their own jail, and we're one of them. We have 5 cells that we have in our jail, and we not only take our arrestees in, but we also take the university's arrestees in. So they use our jail as well. So if they arrest somebody on campus, they'll bring them to our jail. And we are what we call a Class 1 facility. So we can't hold anybody in our jail for longer than 72 hours. So basically, it's long enough to process them for their bond, if they're going to get a bond and get let out, or if they're going to be remanded. If they're going to be remanded, then we'll take them to the county jail, and that's where they'll stay until they figure out how they're going to get released, bonded out, whatever. Okay? So I have 9 jailers, but those same jailers are also my 911 operators. So they answer 911 calls and non-emergency calls, and they keep an eye on the jail. So yeah, so we're small, we're a little efficient, but we have a lot of responsibilities. So right now, I think we had, between us and the university, I think we have 14 people in jail this morning. And so my staff is working on getting them all bonded out. Yeah, well, actually, I think it's 16 because we had to transport 2 to the county because they were a little bit combative, and we can't put combative detainees in the same cell, so they have to go somewhere else. So we'll have to go pick them up and bring them back this morning. So anyway, so that's kind of a little snapshot of the city of Clemson's police department. How many of you realize how large or small the city is? Any guess on a size? You think it's large? So we're not going to count the university. Yeah, not counting the university. Just the city limits of Clemson. It's not very big. We're only 8 square miles. We're not very big. How many permanent residents do you think we have in Clemson? Less than 20,000, you're correct. The latest census data that we have like right around 18,000 residents for the city of Clemson. How many students does the university have? So the university is pushing 30,000 students. So there are more students than there are residents, especially when school's in full session, okay? Because right now they're not here mostly, they're all gone. But when they're here, we have 18,000 regular residents that are here year-round, and then I have 30,000 18 to 22-year-olds that come into town. And so that is a unique dynamic for a city police department because we have to balance the two. I have the college student demographic that they want to have their college experience and have a very good time, and they may not realize that if they live in a neighborhood, they're living amongst people who work full-time and have a full-time job and have to get some sleep for the next day, you know, even because they don't have to go to class till 10 o'clock. Person next door might have to be at work at 7:30. So, you know, those are things that we deal with. We call those issues quality of life issues. And so because the university, you know, the student population every 4 years turns over, we're constantly trying to educate people on what it means like not to live in mom and dad's house anymore and think about who's living amongst them. Because, you know, you may be in a neighborhood and the person who's living next to you is an emergency room nurse that's trying to get sleep to go back to work the next day. And then if they don't get enough sleep and something serious happens to you and you go to the emergency room, that person's working on not a lot of sleep. Well, if it were me, I'd want them to be well rested so they're making good decisions for my health care. So those are the kind of things that we try to relay to the students and that kind of stuff. Other than that, so because we are as small as we are, and I told you earlier that we kind of rely on some of the other agencies for other resources. So if we, for instance, had a bomb threat or something, and we had to search a building for the threat of the bomb, we would have to reach out to neighboring agencies that have bomb dogs, bomb detection dogs, a bomb team to come deal with that situation. If we needed to use a SWAT team to serve a search warrant or something like that, we would have to rely on some of the other agencies that come in. So just another couple of reasons why you may see other agencies come into the area to assist us with those types of things, because we don't have those resources, okay? Let's see, what else? If any of you have any questions, feel free to ask me as I'm going along. You won't interrupt me. Just throw your hand up if you have one. One thing I wanted to kind of address, and Pastor and I talked a little bit about this, and it may cause some folks, maybe not you, but folks you know, some little anxiety, is kind of the state of immigration in our country and what our role is in that. You may have seen in the news articles talking about agencies that are what they call 287G agencies, where they have an agreement with immigration to work with immigration on stuff. Anybody heard of those? Okay. So let me explain to you what a 287G agency is. It is an agreement with the federal government to assist with immigration duties, but it does not give local law enforcement officers the authority to go stop people specifically for an immigration issue. Meaning, I can't, as a 287G agency, I can't just go up to somebody and say, hey, what's your immigration status? Let me see your papers. That does not give me that authority, okay? And by the way, we're not a 287G agency, okay? I don't have any plans to become a 287G agency in the near future. And the reason for that is, and when I'll explain what a 287G agency is, you'll kind of understand why so many agencies, or some agencies, have gone to this. This information of what a 287G agency is available on the internet. Anybody can Google it and go to the government website and read exactly what a 287G agency can do. There are 3 programs that agencies can apply for. There is a warrant program, or